Why don't they make songs like they used to? That's what most old people complain about. And yes, I'm old people too. And in this video, we will try to explore why indeed don't they make songs like they used to. And as we explore further into this complaint, we may see if this complaint is indeed valid or not, if there's a more complicated answer, or if I'm just old. But let's look into the question a bit further. Is this a statement about musical quality in how the melodies are formed and how the lyrics are written? Or is this a statement about emotional resonance, of how we can easily connect to the song? Should a good song fulfill both criteria, that is, in musicality and emotional affinity, or just one of them? Let's set the bar high and say that a good song needs to fulfill both criteria. Then let's set up some conditions. Just to be clear, I listen mostly to rock music, so that's the main topic here. Let's do a 60-year range from 1962 to 2022. For history and context, 1962 is the beginning of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, and Elvis had 3 songs on the top 10. Notable releases for this year was The Girl from Ipanema by Perry Ribeiro in its original form, Me and My Shadow by All Blue Eyes and Sammy Davis Jr., and Love Me Do by the Beatles. 2022 is when the movie Elvis comes out. And yes, I had to do research to find out what songs came out in 2022. Notable releases for 2022 were, Google it, because songs a year old don't have much traction yet to be historically significant. I went through Rolling Stone's Top 100 for 2022, and while I know some of the artists have exactly one song in those 100 songs that is on my playlist, Cracker Island by the Gorillaz and Thundercat. In that list, I saw a lot of K-pop and Latino songs, which to me is a good thing, with the world being more receptive to songs from other countries other than the UK and the US. There's the usual sprinkling of pop, R&B, hip-hop, and country, and unusually, not a lack of rock artists. In that same list, there are some artists that I think I know, but at least half of them I just see on social media, but I've never listened to any of their songs. Yeah, that makes me an old man. 2022 is also the year of Beyonce and Taylor Swift. And yes, I have a rough idea of their music, and no, they're not on my playlist. Anywho, that's 1962 and 2022. So why don't they make songs like they used to? Number 1 reason, numbers. Let's take this up now because this reason will affect the other reasons later in the video. In 1962, roughly 2,520 songs were published. Now this is limited to popular music, not counting traditional or local music in each country and classical recordings. In 2022, roughly 40,800 songs were published. That's 16 times more than in 1962. For the sake of visualization, just how many is 40,800 songs? Assuming that all of them are 3 minutes long, it would take us 85 days, non-stop, without sleep, to go through all the songs. That means that there's a lot more songs published every year onwards, and the listener will have a lot more songs to go through and to choose from. Second, this number is cumulative. What is available to us in 1962 is 2,520 plus the songs of 1961, 1960, and so on, which is tiny compared to the volume of songs available to us in 2022. There is no accurate figure, but the total number of songs available to us in 2022 is estimated from 82 to 200 million, according to different sources. That's a huge playlist to choose from. And without doing the math, this is way larger than what we had in 1962. It will take us 468 years, non-stop, no sleep, to go through 82 million songs. So the volume of published songs as of 2022 is physically impossible to review in one sitting, or in one lifetime anyway. Number 2 reason, originality in copyright. One thing about songs is that they have to be relatively original. Now we won't go into a deep dive into copyright, Some channels have taken this up rather well, but quite simply, each of those 82 million songs should sound fairly new to our ears, never mind what everyone else has to say. Just a tidbit about copyright in music. The legal basis is the musical notation, not the audio version of the song. So moving the same musical notation an octave up or down, or a step up or down, doesn't make it original. That's the same with instruments. Whether the instrument is a distorted electric guitar or a bagpipe, if it has the same musical notation, it's the same song. That's the legal basis. But for the audio part, the human ear is a finely tuned organ. It can tell if it's original enough, or downright plagiarism. Note that I said original enough. We always have to take some reference or inspiration from previous art. That is quite natural in all arts. But the trick is that we have added, subtracted, and modified the song to a point that it has its own identity. This means that there can only be one Strawberry Fields Forever, and the Beatles has dibs on the song. And artistically and realistically, there is no need for one more. This also means that the rest of the musicians will have to find another song, which, because of the number of songs out, becomes harder and harder through time. If we wrote a song back in 1962, we would have to compare it against roughly 25,000 songs, dating all the way back to 1952. But if we were to write a song in 2022, we'd have to compare it against 82 million other songs. That's a much higher number we're stacked up against. While these numbers clearly show that it's much harder to write a new song these days, it is equally hard for all of us. And from some songs I hear these days, it's not impossible. And for those of us who say that they don't make songs like they used to, I would say true, but have you listened to the new songs? Have you even tried? If we can't find new songs that we like, maybe we haven't dug deep enough. Reason number 3, exposure. Simply put, songs from 1962 have had more than 60 years to reach us, while songs from 2022 only had a year or so, as of this writing, to reach us. In addition, the listening habits of the world has changed. Back then, we depended on radio to inform us on what was around. There were a lot more chance encounters, like hearing music in a vehicle, or from a friend, or in a department store, or on the radio. So we were exposed to a lot of different songs, and we were allowed to make our own choices. Today, while everything is available on the internet, ironically, at least for me, I have less exposure to things I'm not focused on. Algorithms try to predict our taste, thereby screening out all the outliers that we might find interesting, like a mariachi band, or a Japanese ska band, or an Australian melodic metal band. The last time I was in a mall and asked myself, hey, what's that song? Was back in the mid-2000s, more than a decade ago. And for some reason, there seems to be a lot less cross-pollination these days. One of the coolest things about art is for two media to show up together, like a song in a movie or a painting in a stage play, and so on. I may be living in a hole, but I have not seen new situations of cross-pollination for quite some time, like finding cream in a Scorsese film, or Steelers wheel in a Tarantino film, or the John Spencer Blues Band in Baby Driver. For us to find a song these days, we have to do a lot of surfing, which we may not have time for, because the opportunity for a chance encounter, it seems to me, has become less and less these days. Because of the internet, it should be way easier now to find a song that we like, while in 1962 we were dependent on radio and people physically carrying records from the US and Europe. But due to the sheer volume of songs and the modern times, and the lesser leisure time that we have, making that first contact with a song that we like seems to be harder these days. It also doesn't help that copyright restrictions prevent us from a chance encounter with a song that we might like. There's something Orwellian about that. Reason number 4, nostalgia. Why do I have Ozone's Dragostea Dinte on my playlist? That song is more well known as the Numa song. Do you need more clues? It's the Maya Hi, Maya Hu song by the Moldovan band Ozone. I have that song because my kids danced and sang to it back when they were little. It reminds me of their childhood. They danced to it in school presentations, I heard them sing it, and so on. I guess I wouldn't be the only one to like sappy or corny songs because I have some emotional connection to them, or I associate them with a memory. And for better or worse, to me, it's not a bad song. The older songs will always have a better opportunity for us to connect to an experience, a memory, or an emotion. It seems that nostalgia seems to happen in our younger years, before we join the 9 to 5 drudgery that is the modern society, meaning before we become adults. That's why most of us seem to get stuck in an era, whether it's about music or the nostalgia we have with that music. The older song seems to connect more with us. And since most of our emotions and memories happen in our youth, we tend to connect with these older songs more. Let's continue with the discussion before we try to answer the question posted in the beginning. In 1962, only 6 notable bands formed. One of them was the Rolling Stones. In 2022, 35 bands formed and 29 new soloists debuted. The ability to publish music is now available to literally every household in the world, compared to the 60s when people had to walk into a studio to cut a recording. So I guess it all evens out. It's much easier than before to create and publish a song because of the tools we have at our disposal. But it's much harder also because of the body of work that has come before. And I think everything boils down to determination. I won't believe that the artists today are less talented than those 60 years ago. Lazier? Well, that's up to the artist. We probably won't hear of stories anymore of a band member writing a hard day's night on a birthday card in one night. But we can't be artists if we don't have the optimism and confidence to create something new. Finally, let's go back to the question, why don't they make songs like they used to? We have the stated reasons and there is no short answer. One thing that I have observed though is that some new songs like to stick to a hook and nothing more. To me, those songs sound incomplete. They start with a hook on the intro and stay on that groove all the way to the end of the song. No chorus and no bridge, none that I notice anyway. I seem to find less songs these days that have the melodic variety of, say, Bohemian Rhapsody. A talented producer or musician can easily cut Bohemian Rhapsody into 2 good songs, but to us, that song will never be the same without the whole mix. So some new songs may be a product of not wanting to go any further, out of fear or whatever, or any other reason. Which goes to show, just because we can, doesn't mean we can do it well. To me, some new songs are like the Latino, rap, R&B, pop, and dance versions of Lou Reed's Walk on the Wild Side, a hook that goes on forever, never deviating, or some swampy blues drone. Even Gorillaz Cracker Island uses this technique. This trick is good for some fun every now and then, but it can't stand as the mainstay musical trope for many of the Hot 100 songs of 2022. Whatever happened to verse, chorus, bridge, chorus? So let's go back to the question, why don't they make songs like they used to? Because of originality, copyright, and the sheer volume of existing songs. Everyone is entitled to his own musical taste, even if he thinks that they don't make songs like they used to. To find 6 great songs in a Beatles album, and finding only 1 in a 2022 artist's album is not a reflection of talent or ability, it's just the numbers through time. If at all, it is a credit to the newer artists for finding something original. But is the complainer making a jaded, sweeping, dismissive statement, or has he really taken the time to go through the huge library of recent songs, and after a lot of time going through each and every song, make the same statement, but now with some authority? So my shortest answer is, don't sweat it. Listening to music is free. Give yourself a chance to listen to the new stuff. There is no commitment. We can still like the old songs while trying out new ones. I won't let go of the old songs, but I also won't be stopped from discovering new songs. The new songs may take a little more digging, but that's part of the fun. And wouldn't it be cool to find a song that you like that you haven't heard before? And lastly, in this huge volume of songs, there are also the new old songs, works from old artists which have taken quite some time to reach us. Music is fun. Don't let the years or trends stop you. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see you again in another video.